Merry Christmas to me. Justin Fields is traded.
Great
Merry Christmas to me.
Dang. You came out swinging. I wasn't ready for that.
I thought about it in the 30 seconds of that intro. I was like, I'm going to be a jackass. Merry Christmas to me. No, but for real, I did not see that coming, but we're going to talk about it. Zach, what's up?
I'm good. I'm basically as like you are. Honestly, I told you in the pre-show, and I like some stuff I love to bring up how we chat before these. When you texted me yesterday, and I wake up at like 7 Central. I work nights for those that don't know now. I wake up at 7 Central, and I see on the phone first thing, it happened. It's from you. And I'm going, there's only one thing he's going to text me about that would mean it happened in all caps. And sure enough, Justin's not a Bear anymore, which is kind of strange, but we all assumed this might have happened last show. It sounded like it was going to happen. And well, it's here. Just maybe not as good a value as some people hoped it would be, though, is the difference. But it happened.
It happened
less than 24 hours ago.
Yeah, I saw it 20 minutes after the fact. I started seeing like Justin Fields trending, and I said, "Oh my God, what happened?" And I looked. He's in a Steelers outfit, and I said, "Wait, what? Wait, what?" And you know what the funny thing is? Somebody I work with predicted this like on Wednesday. It was Tuesday or Wednesday. They said, "I predict he'll be a Steeler by the end of the week." Just because.
He was connected to him quite a lot, you know.
But I don't even know where to begin. All I know is I told myself if it happened, I would be not shocked because of what the pressure would be to draft another quarterback and the pressure they're under. But I wouldn't be shocked if they didn't trade him. I was actually kind of in shock to actually see that they traded him because of everything being said about him. Now, I know some of it's BS because they have to say it to try to raise his value if they were to get something.
Sure.
But when the Bears signed Swift for their running back room, when they traded for Keenan Allen, my thought process was, well, we lost Darnell Mooney. He goes to the Falcons. We replaced him with Keenan Allen. My thought process was, you're bringing in veteran guys to try to build around Justin Fields because it's proven that he needs help because he can't be successful without help. So I thought, okay, there's no way they trade him. They give him another year. And then they just go about it that way. So when they traded him, I said, oh, now they're really all in on getting a new quarterback. And I was kind of in shock. And then I saw what it was for. I think that's the biggest shock to people was it's not going to be till 2025, and it might be a 4th-round pick for 2025. It's not even this year.
That's the part that's crazy is like, you know, a lot of the talk that had recently happened since you and I had last done an episode was about like, well, because the market's now, everyone's getting signed on, his value is going to dip like crazy because he has nowhere to go. Really, that's going to be realistic to like start, or people will be wanting him as badly to start as before. Like the Atlanta argument died as soon as Kirk Cousins went over there, and you and I talked about it. Kurt's going to be a high value target, and you know, if it wasn't Justin for maybe a little cheaper than Kurt was going to be going to Atlanta possibly anyway. You know, and sure enough, there he goes, and they load up that offense. So yeah, right now, just I mean, not surprised. It is amazing how low the value is, and what's interesting is, since yesterday, that talk around like Bears fandom is, well, we'll get that 4th-round pick back. He's going to beat out Russell Wilson at some point. And I'm like, maybe, but I also don't fully believe that because Russ actually had an underrated season last year.
It wasn't that
with
bad.
The Denver Broncos. Well, 26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions with, I believe it was just under 100 passer rating, if not at 100 passer rating, is not bad. That was, everyone had said at the end of the year, Russell Wilson was not the Broncos' problem, and he clearly was not. So
it's probably
I just find that hard to believe unless the Steelers want to, and this will be telling, is if they pick up his 5th-year option, because I think that'll signal what they're going to do, you know, because they're talking like all the reports have said so far, Justin is definitely the backup, and he is to be the protege to Russell Wilson moving forward. So time will tell. Injuries also have their say, but Russ says Russ is clearly stapled right now as that spot. It's just fascinating that little value pulls his comments on doing right by Justin, maybe plays into that. But I feel like the value just got lost and they just ran out of time. They just needed to go and offload before it got awkward.
Right, because I honestly think they didn't know what to do. When you see how long they went, a couple things. One, they kind of didn't know what to do. They wanted to wait to see Caleb Williams throw. They want to talk to him. They want to do things, and not just him, like other players, other guys they're going to draft. But I honestly think I believe that Ryan Poles and company, there was a part of them that wanted to keep him because yes, I joked about Merry Christmas to me, he's gone. This was the only time I'd be okay with them keeping him compared to getting like a Caleb Williams, because at least with Justin Fields, we already kind of know what you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
And whether, he has flashes of being really good, it's flashes in the pan, and there's flashes that he's not good. There are things that he has to work on. And maybe he was a type of player that should have sat behind somebody, right? But Bears fandom and the ownership pressured Matt Nagy and company and all of them to play him, and whatever. We've never questioned talent. I've never questioned leadership and toughness, really, of him. It's just the NFL style quarterback play of he has to grow into that, and it might take 10 years. Who knows? Maybe in 10 years he's a Joe Flacco and he's coming in and he's slinging it around and doing all this stuff. But
maybe, shoot, if you talk that journey, to me, more of a parallel will be like sans and credit. Sans the stupidity of doing dumb things, a Michael Vick arc where it's like you show that athleticism early, you develop better as a passer in later years. Again, massive asterisks on life choices, by the way. But keep in mind, Vick later in his career molded to a better passer over being an athletic freak, mainly because he had to, but learned over time. Massive asterisks, though. I'm just saying that's my comp if I'm doing that.
Because I don't think anybody's ever questioned. He's had one slip up talking to the media, which when he called out coaches this year, like that was kind of like the first time he said the wrong thing to the media. He always says the right things. He does work. Like I don't think me and like my friend Coach West, who we were on the same page as soon as he was drafted, we hopped on this podcast with my other friend Brad, and we were just freaking out. Like, this is this stupid pick. We're not going to get to the Super Bowl. We're not going to get to the playoffs. And so far, we've been right. Like, it just hasn't happened. But no, we never questioned him being athletic. That tough. We saw how tough he was when he got hit with Clemson, like to get hit in the ribs like that in the back and come back and play.
Oh yeah.
He does. He, when players say nothing but good things about him in that aspect, you can't question it. But the it doesn't lie. The market does not lie. They could have got something early on for him. Maybe. Who knows? I feel like they did talk to people, and I have a feeling that people were not offering. Maybe these were similar offers they were getting. We have no clue. Maybe it was some picks this year, but maybe it wasn't players. Maybe it wasn't they weren't going to get this. We really don't know. But like a tweet from Mike Lombardi, I think, who is on Pat McAfee show a lot, he tweeted, this just proved what the market said about Justin Fields, is that he's a backup quarterback. He's not worth all these picks. He's not worth this anymore. And people were blowing up on Twitter about it, of course. Bears Twitter blowing up, like, how is he not worth this? How is he not this? And it's Mr. Colin Cowherd, on the herd. This is the one time I've ever agreed with him. He said, look, athletic, whatever, but you can't argue with the win percentage. You have to look at the numbers, the interceptions. We can blame OC all we want. We can blame head coach all we want. But ultimately, this is the fact of the matter. Super athletic. But that doesn't win you all these football games. Like Lamar Jackson can, because he have a better run game, but that's about it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And this was the market for him. I wish we would have gotten more. Maybe we could have if we traded him right as the season ended, because he was showing.
He was on a high. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not mad about it, but you got squares.
I know, it's my camera, and of course I do this as this. I've had this issue. Don't worry. keep on talking. Tell you what, drop me off. I'll fix this as you keep going. This is a random tech issue, but yeah, I'll be back. I'll be back
This
in
is
a
raw,
moment.
live, raw, and uncut. But the thing that shocked me was the Bears get Swift. Love that pickup. Then they get Keenan Allen. Love that one. I hate to see Darnell Mooney go though. That was the big one. I love him. But then when you get him, I'm like, oh, they're going all in on this offense. They're looking at Swift, Komet, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. Who was the other tight end they picked up?
Well, they got Gerald Everett.
Yes, and like
just this off season, so
they got to address the offensive line room a little bit, but they don't look too bad either. And there was a tweet that I shared, and I'm going to read it if I can find it.
I think I know the one you're referencing.
Somebody retweeted. Somebody said Justin Fields fell to number 11 pick, got drafted to a rebuilding team with no help, just to be replaced as soon as the rebuild was complete. And then somebody retweeted it and said, Justin Fields last season had a good O-line, solid run game, a number 1 wide receiver, and a top 10 defense. The he had no help needs to stop. He's just not a good quarterback. And I retweeted that.
At some point, and that's the thing that sucks here is like last year we saw what was supposed to be, and this is what we discussed going in. A lot of people discussed it. The no excuses, okay? You had a bunch of assets come in. They added more items on during the offseason going into this year. And then they even added on more. I can't say an in-season trade is full perfect, but look, they added on Sweat, and that changed the game as well defensively. And like you mentioned there, top 10 defense. That line sans 2 people that would have slip-ups and are being changed right now. For the most part, held up. Sacks were given, but again, we talked about as the year went on. Like, we follow the whole community. Like, we did talk how sacks were going down as the year went on. Like, how this line kept getting better as the year went on. How just when Jenkins came back, how Jenkins when it came back from being out at the beginning of the year, how it kept getting better at pass protection. But eventually, when your going gets tough, when you aren't playing opponents that are your level, we still weren't living up to snuff. And that's the thing. It's not fast enough. Now, one chart I do agree with, and this is where I do get driven a little insane, and I am wondering how this goes this year, is that we are in the same cycle as last QB picks again, and the one prior. Mitch and Justin, where it's now Caleb. If it is Caleb Williams, which, I would beg to differ that it's not, because unless the Bears do decide to jump over backwards again, and I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes was the obvious pick here, but Deshaun Watson, before being stupid, again, was a good quarterback and could have been that guy. I just don't know how it's not him. But the situation you're in with that is Matt Eberflus has to perform again this year. It's year 3. He hasn't won. He hasn't gone to the playoffs. He has not had a winning record in his Bears tenure. He saved his job last year, if I'm being honest, by taking over the reins as defensive coordinator and getting enough wins to show progress. He got to 7 wins. So, yes, progress. And we've talked, do I think that was good enough? No. Personally, I thought he still should have been fired. I thought he had way too many mistakes as a head coach last year in games that were winnable, by the way.
Yep.
We're talking blown leads more than 2 times that were winnable games that they let slip out of the fingers. That's bad coaching. But, let the Bears office do its usual thing and say, well, he did good enough. We don't need to do changes. We're trying to build this new stadium in downtown Chicago now, by the way, which is something else that's happened since last show. But it's amazing how that's dwarfed by everything else from other distractions going on. But yeah, I mean, the cycle continues. You have a coach on the chopping block, possibly, that's got to pick a quarterback.
And he's got a new look. He looks good.
Yep.
He looks great.
Yes, it's fantastic. You have a GM who probably will still keep his job no matter what happens to the coach. And if the said coach gets fired, well, the cycle begins again, and you have a QB that you hope is good for. Here's the thing. Everyone hopes Caleb Williams is out of the gate a CJ Stroud. Like, let's be real. We all know we want that. We want a CJ Stroud.
Yes.
Year one. Everyone wants that. If he's not, and you have to reset the QB, the coaching search again, that's when things get fuzzy again. You know, and as much as Justin didn't develop, I will give slight bits towards the folks that went, you know what? The coaching cycle failed him. I'll give a little bit. But that's what we are stuck in possibly again, just noted.
Well, yeah, well, that's why I was convinced that they would not trade him at this point, you know, because of the possibility of if they are not succeeding, they will fire Matt Eberflus, and it might be the first time they fire a coach mid-season if it's not going well. So at least that way, if they do get a new coach, like, hey, at least everything's together, you know. Well, what kind of world are we living in when I'm defending Justin Fields? Holy shit.
Oh, boy.
But that's why I would just, you know, I feel like there's going to be more pressure now because you have a new quarterback coming in. And I hate that when you draft a guy out of college and say, because of CJ Stroud, you have to do this now. I hate that because that's even more pressure put on that person to come in and say, hey, you're probably going to start right away. And that sucks for a rookie. But flip side, you have DJ Moore, you have Keenan Allen, you have Swift, you have Cole Kmet, you know, you have these weapons that are going to help a young quarterback out.
So many.
Me personally, you now have a better offensive coordinator in the building than we did the previous years who has experience.
I think that's one thing, by the way, that does possibly change the formula is that you look at John Fox and you look at Matt Nagy. Now, Nagy was basically the guy. You know, his first year, you know what? Solid stuff. Hindsight's 2020, and I kind of credit that to unique play calling, and the NFL just quickly caught up to that, and he got cued a lot of times. But he was the OC the first time.
Yes.
John Fox and company, not really inspired anyway. And now with Matt Eberflus, I mean, look, they tried the Luke Getsy route with a QB coach, which, you know what? That's a route you go sometimes if you're going up to the coordinator position. I get it. Didn't work. It's experimental with that type of stuff. So what did they do? And I give them praise for this. They went with a proven guy in Shane Waldron. And I think that's going to be the potential saving grace to breaking the cycle is that we're not playing around with a guy that's trying to implement something he used to see and is first timer figuring things out. We're not playing around with a coach that's basically been behind the times and trying to stick with things from the past in a John Fox. We're not playing with a guy that, you know, I think got cute later on in his stages with Matt Nagy, and the NFL quickly found out really quick. Now, Kansas City fans are laughing at that quote, but in Chicago, that to me is exactly what the hell was happening, is things were not coordinating correctly. This is different to me. Shane Waldron has a track record and has gotten success out of people he has coached with in recent years. Geno Smith, by the way, is on that list. And we all know Geno has definitely flipped his, I would say, public image of what he's viewed at these days. You know, so I would say that's probably one of the better ones you could have for developing someone that maybe needs to get molded a little bit,
right?
Which is a Caleb Williams type who, yes, I've seen the comparisons to Fields where they're like, well, he fumbles a lot and he doesn't stay on schedule, but he does a lot of magic, and it's at every different range of the field.
Yeah,
so
I mean, he was the one.
You just got to wrangle it in, which that's what Shane, I think, is there for, is to wrangle that in a little bit.
I think you and I said if they hired him, he was the one OC where it could go either way. They could keep Fields and he could adapt what he does. Because if they hire the guy from the Ravens,
that would be a Fields hire right away.
Yes.
Greg Roman. It would have been for Fields instantly.
Right. So he was the one guy that I was like, but even that, I kind of lean towards 60% they get rid of Fields and 40% they keep him, only because he wants a more pocket presence quarterback, right? Like not necessarily because look, I think also Bears fans wanted Justin Fields to be like Russell Wilson, where he could stand in the pocket and throw, and then once in a while scatter out, not make the 70-yard runs, but like, oh, the first down marker is 11 yards, I'm getting 12, right? Like that type of
Yeah.
thing. Patrick Mahomes, same thing.
Prime Seattle Russell Wilson, of course.
Yes. I think
that's what we're all wanting. It just wasn't enough of that.
Right.
Russ for the most part knew when to throw it away. Still had his problems with getting sacks from time, but he still knew when to throw it. That's what got him his bread and butter, and what is now making him a what feels to be a fringe case for Hall of Fame given recent years. But you know what I mean,
right? So then now, guess we could just dive right into the next part. Who are they going to draft? Everybody say it's a foregone conclusion that it's Caleb Williams. I have big question marks about Caleb Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Couple things. One, you go from having a great – I still live and die by this. If he would have went to the draft his junior year or last year, he would be drafted pretty high. There'd be no question marks. I thought he played really well. They were on the verge of talked about being in the college football playoff. Coming into this year, it was the same thing. They were talked about. Well, then they lose. They go like 7-6, right?
Yep.
And then the wall started to crack around him, to me personally, where he runs to his mom and cries in the stands because they lost like their second or third game. Now they definitely can't be in the college football playoff. To me, if you're going to be upset, cool, be upset in the locker room, be upset to where we can't see it. Then you make the comment about I just want to go home and cuddle with my dogs. Now, cool, I have a dog too. Love for her to jump on my lap, cool, whatever. But like, if you're going to go to the NFL, like that's not the things that they say in the NFL. People have commented on how he dresses, the painting of the fingernails. Like, what are you doing? And that stuff doesn't bother me as much because that's just your personality. Whatever, let it go. In college, he's like that because of name, image, and likeness. So maybe he has to have this certain persona to make money. When you get to the NFL, it's just your play now. It doesn't matter about all that other stuff. So some question marks there. He's now saying the right things about if I go to the Bears, cool, like I'll play. But before he's made comments about that, you have the baggage with his family and his dad talking about, well, we want to own a part of the organization if we get drafted. Like you're saying these things.
That stuff freaks me out when parents start getting involved like that,
But they get involved because
that's more apparent. It's more of a parent thing, but like it's like, why is it in the news? We don't need that,
right? Well, that's because it's college. Because talking to these, like, for example, yesterday I had Coach Miller, the O-line coach at U of I, and we talked about recruiting at the very beginning. I want to know about this, and he said it has changed, and now parents are involved, and they're talking about agents are involved. So I think the reason why we're seeing those comments is because he's still in college.
Mm-hmm.
I think NFL agents are going to tell him that stuff's not going to fly and it's not going to go well in the NFL because there's only 32 teams. There's not hundreds of colleges. There's not going to be this. Yeah, you'll get commercials. You're going to get deals. But ultimately, they can cut you when they want. They can do this whenever they want. It's not for long. That's what it's titled for. It's not for long, right? Nope. So those are certain red flags to me. Now, does he have the capability of playing? Does he have the capability of being a pocket quarterback? Absolutely he does. He's proved it time and time again. But there are some of those red flags, especially if you're going to play him right away. Now, I said this to somebody the other day. I said, you know what? If they keep Fields, but also draft Williams, let's just say that happened.
Sure.
Let Fields go out and play this last year. Let Caleb Williams sit for a year. Then maybe that works. Or whoever they draft. I'm going to get to that. It may not even be Williams. I hope they just shock the whole world and not take him. I hope just something happens. And then I really want to see the city of Chicago burn down when that happens.
Oh, my God. The days, the months. It would be months. They would be months, and then depending on the results, would be years. We wouldn't hear that 10-year stretch of 2017 to like 2027 would be like considered one of the most infamous QB stretches in the Bears' history somehow. If that happened, if they all three ended up being out like first round 3-and-dones or some crap like that. So I don't want to think about that right now. But what I do want to hear, just to continue your thought, is like, if it's not Caleb, I mean, look, there's like 5 quarterbacks that are being talked about as first round pickups right now.
Yep. And I
With
have them pulled
McCarthy
up.
probably being like the highest riser out of all of them since this our last time we talked. Like,
Yes.
dude's now up to like 9th overall, or like I think it's like 6th where the Giants are, or something like that. They're considering the Giants as like the favorite to land him if he slips.
Yeah.
Drake
Right
May
now,
fluctuates like everywhere, and then Jaden Daniels is like, I don't know. I think they need to wait till his pro day to see if he gets that second spot, but it feels like he's like the stable 2 right now. So
yeah, it's, I mean, this could be outdated. It's Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, JJ McCarthy. Jaden Daniels and Drake May always flip flop. It's always either him or Drake May drops. You have Michael Penix Jr. right behind JJ McCarthy. You got Bo Nix in there. I don't know why
Nix's stock
Spencer
has been
Rattler.
rising too. By the way, that's another one.
Spencer Rattler's on here, which I don't know why. He's freaking awful. Nobody wants to touch that.
Yeah,
But like,
I wouldn't.
you're right. Caleb Williams has been a steady top one. JJ McCarthy, I think, one time was down there with Bo Nix, and his thing has just risen.
His pro day
And
did a
I
lot for
sat.
him, is the thing, you know?
People are saying he looks like college Joe Burrow coming out. Like that's what he looks like. Like the way he can throw it, the way he moves.
Okay.
His stock keeps going up. And they said They said the reason why he is not talked about more is because if you look at Michigan the last couple of years, they were very heavy run. Yeah, there was one game, was it Penn State? They didn't throw the ball once in the second half. And, that just shows that JJ McCarthy's about the team and about winning. Like, you look at his leadership, you look at this. I actually like JJ McCarthy. Like, he showed in playoff games and the national championship, he could throw really good balls and he can command an offense, and he was able to do those things. Jane Daniels, same thing with LSU. His stock has risen because last year so this year really stepped up, and like, he's tall, he's 6'4". He's shown that he can. He is that guy that could stand in the pocket. He's also the guy that could do RPOs and zone reads and scatter and do a couple things. I think his height helps him too. It really helps. Drake May is the guy that I just don't understand. I don't know where he came from all of a sudden, but people are telling me that he was good. He's just a sophomore, though, and the Bears have done this before where they look at a North Carolina quarterback for 1 year and taken him.
Does that not freak you out a little bit that it's another North Carolina QB, high ranking? A lot of people like his tangibles.
Coaches.
Yeah.
Oh, it freaks me out. It bothers me. I'm having, again, like you said, we're having this deja vu all over again. Like coming into Mitch's time.
All it takes is 1 month of different evals, and the man can jump up a slot on the page. We did it once before. I'm not saying Drake's that, but like, it's amazing how history looks like it could repeat itself.
This is a mixture of the Justin Fields draft and Mitch Trubisky's draft. Like, this is
God.
I knew this would happen if they traded Justin Fields. This is our nightmare. It's kind of exciting to have a new quarterback. It's kind of exciting to move on from Justin Fields so we can get rid of that argument and stop talking about that. The only argument that will happen is if he does start for the Pittsburgh Steelers and gets to the playoffs, then everybody's going to be like, oh, see, we told you.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't know if that'll happen. I mean, he has less weapons in Pittsburgh now than he does in Chicago going over there. So
I foresee them using a 2-quarterback system, or if they're in the goal line, they could throw him in there and do something, which I think is his strength. Like, is he going to throw it? Is he going to run? That's his strength. That's what he brings to the table. But I digress.
I want to hear your thoughts on something. You jog my memory with that because I think that's fascinating. Now, do you know who Craig Carton is?
Mm-hmm.
Does that name ring a bell? Okay, good.
It rings a bell.
I want your thought on this take. He said this week, quote-ish, Justin Fields should maybe look to convert to a receiver.
I said similar things when they drafted him. I'm like, he could be a running back, more of a running back than a receiver. That argument was made for Tim Tebow, if you remember. He should be a fullback. And I think Justin Fields will just end up being a backup quarterback. I think that's where he lives. He lives in packages. He lives in the. Justin Fields is going to. I know I'm not giving you the right answer. The
No,
answer
no,
would
no.
be
It's okay.
yes. My answer to that would be you're a quarterback first, but there could be packages where they throw him out there and they go, wait, what's going on? And he is athletic enough to go get. I've never seen him really catch, but I'm just guessing that he could probably be athletic enough to go get the ball. I'm guessing he's athletic enough to be put in the backfield as a running back. Like, I would have fun with it. Like, hey, Russell, your quarterback, he is the running back. Then maybe you flip flop it. Like, I think you could have fun with it. Not saying that's going to win you a lot of games or Super Bowls, but it's going to be in those particular like third and fourth down things where you put packages in. So yes and no. I don't know if he could live in that world, but he could be that guy because I've never questioned athleticism. He is super athletic. He's super
Oh,
talented,
no doubt.
but
No
that's
doubt.
just who he is. He's one of those guys that's just an athlete, and you've got to figure out where to put him. And when he was younger, where do all the athletes go? Wide receiver, quarterback, dad and family picked quarterback. It looked like the right idea because he was super successful in high school. He did well at Ohio State. Nobody questions that whatsoever. But there's reasons why he was successful at Ohio State. And there's a reason why it's not transferring very well to the NFL. You know, there's a reason why. But yes and no. I think you could have fun with it. But I don't think it is you're a wide receiver right now. I hate when people say that it's just an easy transition to go to any position and live in that world. It's not. Like, you have to. Certain athletes can, but it's not a foregone conclusion that he could just go do that.
I thought it was
he's a better running back.
Right. I mean, look, I thought it was fascinating, and the Bears have tried to play around with trick plays in the past with him doing that because he's a speedster, he's a speed freak. You know, again, athletic freak by nature, absolutely. It's what draws a majority of the media's attention to him is that he is an athletic freak when he is running, and so you know maybe someday down the road, if that's a thing, and again, certain things would have to happen, sure. But look, I think I'm like with you. Justin to me's always come off as he's not giving up on this QB journey anytime soon. You know, I mean, sure, there are the Terrell Pryors and the Logan Thomases of the world that have made the switch. You know, the Julian Edelmans of the world have done it too. But like, you kind of have to do it now. Like especially like Logan Thomas made that decision like after his essentially after his main rookie deal and switched to a tight end. You know, Terrell Pryor waited till his late 20s to do it. Mm-hmm. But by then, you know, he did have one successful season, completely fell off the map. Julian Edelman, I mean, he did it just so he can get drafted, for God's sake. I mean, his story is basically scrapping to get anything and then became a necessary tool. So, you know, I don't know. That's the hypotheticals out there. I don't think it's happening soon. Craig Carton has his own reputation, so I was curious if what your thoughts are, because some people were like, "Are you insane? You're a madman." And Craig is kind of a madman.
He is, but I mean, that stuff's been said since 2 years ago. So it's not anything new. My funny stuff is, and I need to sit down today if I have time and go through Twitter like a madman. My phone's going to die on me. I'm going to go to every single Justin Fields sucker of something on him, and I'm just going to comment like crazy. I already did yesterday. Adam Rank was like, Caleb Williams is my quarterback. And I commented saying,
he flipped.
I said, I didn't say it like this. You're a hypocrite. And I said that to him. And I'm going to continue. I might do it every day. I do it to Stephen A. Smith every day. Stephen Smith puts out a tweet every single day.
I see your stuff. Dude, you go after Stephen A. Smith on a regular. Like it is consistent.
He's a joke. I would love to debate Stephen A. Smith. And he would just yell at me and I'd yell at him back. But it would have to be on my terms because on ESPN, I can't call him a fucking idiot. I could say all I want, but I couldn't say it on ESPN. But, you know, like, I'm going to go after Adam Rank. I'm going to go after Hogue. I don't care. I'm done.
Dude.
There's only there's one person I won't do it to, and that is the guy we had on here, Mr. Braggs Jr. He's the only one. And he is the one guy I respect.
So this is fascinating because before I got on the show, I was kind of curious, like, I hadn't really looked at Twitter yesterday. I kind of got up, went to work, and like I hadn't seen what the discourse was for this, but Adam Hogue apparently, and I haven't seen the episode, but apparently he kind of went off on Bears fans in a recent
I need to
CHGO
watch it.
episode.
I need
And
to
I
watch it.
guess a lot of people did not take that very well. And credit, as you and I know, Adam is kind of the in the moment defending guy. He's going to defend something until it's not defendable anymore or it's not convenient enough to do it. And then he flips the script. Is how he's been with that when he's been doing the Hogan Johns podcast, which is why I don't listen anymore. And he does it on CHGO. And sure enough, people tried to call him out on it, it sounds like, and he apparently had enough. And Greg's trying, and Greg, I applaud Greg for trying to stand up for a guy he works with for sure. But dude, Hogue is getting shredded right now by people because he has been, he got it wrong and he tried to flip it. People saw that he was being a hypocrite and he couldn't take the heat.
No, that's why, like I said, I loved that show. And I told Greg to his face, like there was something he said before and whatever. And then I go back and listen and I actually listen to it and I think about it. And I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing. And I see how he's progressed in this journey of his. And I respect him. He's grinding it out. He does those things. I respect Hogue and the grind he's done for many, 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 many years and the work they put in. But I respect people that stick by to what they say and they don't flip flop and they admit when they're wrong. And that's what Greg does for that show. Carm has turned into that type of person where he doesn't do that. He flip flops more than anybody. I can't stand it, but I know why they do it.
Carm comes off to me as like the guy that's passionate at the bar. That it's a very, I don't want to say bipolar, but like very much flip flop depending on what the mood overall is feeling like. Like it's a little different than Hogue. Hogue, like I said, he will like stand by something, doesn't matter what it is, but instead of like seeing the writing on the wall, he'll stand on it till the bitter end and then make the flip all of a sudden and try and say, I was like this all along. And it's like, no, that's not what you were doing, but okay. And then people get annoyed with it enough, and then apparently it got under his skin. So, look, CHGO, look, you know what, do what you do. We love Greg Bragg on there, but like, hey, don't get mad if people are getting mad that they see what you're doing and trying to get away from what you used to be pumping out. That's the thing that's going on here. That's the difference. Plus the Justin Fields fans are mad because they're not acting pro Fields anymore. So it's a double whammy.
But the big guy I hate is Adam Rank. That guy I cannot stand. Like he immediately tweeted, Caleb Williams is my quarterback. And I'm like, wait a minute. You the stuff you've said about Fields, the stuff you go on the NFL Network and that show you're on, and like really go after us Bears fans that are not behind Justin Fields. Like, I don't think even I would sit there, and I don't know if I've ever preyed on Justin Fields' downfall because there was that part of me that like the Bears need to win. But I was just kind of trying to be realistic about the situation.
Well, it doesn't help when the sensationalism around it is also crazy. I get when people are likable, but like, dude, it got crazy year 2 and 3. Like the over the top nature of some coverage on this guy is how I view it. And now those people are trying to back off, and it's like, no, dude, you were like going mad nuts over this for a second. Don't act like you were never like this, or don't act like it wasn't like you were, I'm going to die on a hill no matter what happens to Justin. Like, not all the time. That's the difference. Adam, by the way, and as you and I know in the joke, remember, he doesn't know what a catch is. Okay? Just keep that in mind. He doesn't know what an NFL catch is. So clearly not helping himself. A guy at NFL Network who doesn't know what a catch is, that's hard to get behind and trust.
I forgot about that.
I still hold that, man. I still hold that. If you don't know what a catch is, I have problems trusting you as an analyst. Just saying.
I totally forgot about that. And how do you have a job?
You work for the company that gives you the rule set right on your lap, and you don't know what a catch is.
I'm in the wrong business. I need to suck up to the right people. And
clearly we both are. Clearly, we both need to start asking questions. Is all I can tell you. Anyway, I hate to do the bounce around thing, but I actually wanted to ask because we talked about Drake
That's what
May.
the show is. This is what the
I know
show
it
is.
is.
Raw.
I know it is. I guess this is clarification for anyone that's new here that is jumping in right now. Back to the quarterback discussion besides Caleb. So we talked Drake,
Yes,
which
sir. Yes, sir.
Drake out of like all the QBs, maybe except for Penix, is considered like one of the best pro ready system guys, it seems, for like pocket presence and arm talent. The wild card that is not Caleb Williams, though, to me, and the one that I think most people are fascinated because of the big numbers and he's a running QB, is Jaden Daniels, which I've been very hesitant to talk about Jaden because A, it was very clear they were stat padding his numbers last year to get the Heisman Trophy in a year they were down. That was kind of talked about in a few LSU outlets, by the way. B, the credit, unprototypical size isn't a big deal, but kind of a smaller frame dude going to be trying to run around. Like, it's like a almost, I don't even know how to say this, like an almost more energetic Kyler Murray that's going to be behind center.
Taller.
But yeah, like, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts? I have a hard time pinning down on this guy because, like, I know that they did a little extra to help get the sensational numbers he had last year for the Heisman. So that's a hard thing for me to get over when I'm trying to evaluate him. Is the only thing.
I kind of watched him at LSU, and like you said, I have the stats pulled up for some of these quarterbacks. He was at Arizona State for 3 years. Then he was at
I did
LSU
know.
for 2.
I also know that from where I'm at now because all the ASU guys out here talk about how he was now gone elsewhere, if you know what I mean.
Yes. And I don't know, it's like a flash in the pan. You know, this year he had 3,800 passing yards, 40 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions, right? And they're going as the flash in the pan, like, look at what he's doing now, right? Kind of like a Joe Burrow. He did okay hit the year before his senior year. Then he just exploded, right? But he showed more NFL mechanics because of Joe Brady, because they were running New Orleans Saints types of passes. I am afraid of some people I work with, like Jaden Daniels, not saying necessarily that the Bears need to take him, but they do kind of like that he's tall. That helps a lot. He showed in a Brian Kelly wants to be in the pocket and then sometimes have a guy run around and do things. He can do both. I just think they're going with the flash in the pan right now because, I mean, the year before, 17 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, like, that doesn't stick off the page to you as much. The reason why they're looking at it is, to me, he needs to be a quarterback that sits. He has to be a quarterback that sits behind somebody. I don't know if he could be a guy that comes into the NFL and just immediately steps in.
He does seem like one of those that you hope to God you get a journeyman or like a system guy, you know, and that's not ideal for everybody, but like, you hope he's one of them for sure. I feel like he needs more of a molding of clay is all.
But then Drake May so far could be better than Mitch Trubisky was in college. Drake May last year, 4,300 passing yards, 38 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. Really good. This year, 3,600 passing yards, drops a little bit. 24 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. But in the college football world of transfer portal, guys leave. He doesn't have the same receivers, blah, 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 blah. Changed. He's not a bad quarterback. I just didn't think that he was up there with the rest of them, you know.
Sure.
Caleb Williams, even though he had an off year this year, 30 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, you know, like, that's still pretty good. Year before he had 40. This is why last year maybe he should have went 42 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Like, I mean, should have done that. But even the year before at Oklahoma, he had 21 touchdowns and 4 interceptions and didn't play the whole time. You know, like, it was a little different. But Jaden Daniels, I do not want the Bears to. It sucks because he's 6'4". He's tall.
Yeah, but it's good for a QB
pounds.
height. Yeah,
but he's 210 pounds.
Tall, but stick frame. You know, that's the only thing.
Yeah, I mean, Drake May is 230, it says. Like he's just that. But I mean, Jane Daniels is also a senior this year, has played a little bit. You know, he's at Arizona State and played a little bit, so he has some playing experience. He's older because of that, so I think that kind of helps
Mm-hmm.
them. Like, okay, he's an older guy. Drake May is a sophomore this year. You know, he's old. Like, so that's where the appeal comes from. Jade Daniels is that he is older, so maybe he'll fit more into those type of things. Brian Kelly isn't necessarily a pro style offensive guy, but he's not a always zone read type of thing. They do it. Don't get me wrong. In the SEC, you have to do it. Brian Kelly did it when he was at Notre Dame. I'm not a
Yep.
Brian Kelly person, but I have watched Notre Dame when he was there. And the frame, I'm sure NFL guys are like, we can put some weight on him. He's tall. He can scatter a little bit. So that's the appeal. I just don't know if when he steps in and has to play right away that it's going to work. It could. Maybe he figured it out this year as a senior and he figured it out, but you're also right. They were trying to throw it way more than they ever did before and try to get him to win the Heisman. But this year he did look good. Some games I watched, he had to have comeback games and did well. And so that's kind of where that appeal comes from for him, I think. You know, I think I watch more college football than NFL. I watch more college football than I do NFL.
Sure.
And LSU being LSU, they're on all the time because they're playing, you know, Alabama's of the world. They're playing Georgia. They're doing this. I think it's just, is he a proven winner, right? Like they didn't get to the playoffs. They didn't do this. So is he a proven winner? But that's whatever. But if the Bears were to shock the world and take him, maybe he would be in a good spot. They're going to have their O-line try to be upgraded. They have a running back. They have receivers that are going to help him. He's tall, so he can kind of see over the line a little bit. I don't know.
This is another thought I've had with this whole discussion. Now, credit, unless you think otherwise, I'm going to preference this. I don't think they go far enough back or want to go far enough back to get, say, a Michael Penix. I'm not sure if it's like they're going to get blown the doors off, but like I feel like he's not on their radar of the guys on the board. Yeah. He's a little too far down. Age, yes, the injury woes, even though I thought for the most part he's gotten rid of those last year. A few different factors, but like he'll get drafted somewhere, and I'm curious what he'll do because he's another good pocket passer. He's just a bit older is the thing. But the other hypothetical I'm curious about is there perhaps a chance, and I'm only saying this would be the ultimate steal. I don't know if it'll happen. Do the Commanders or the Patriots feel that Caleb Williams would be that good that they have to go up one pick? Or somebody has to?
That's the
because this is where J.J.
part.
McCarthy to me comes in, is this. They trade back to get McCarthy and get the haul at that point.
Right. This is why I thought that they could have traded Justin Fields to the Patriots for their third pick. Or what, I don't know. There was a way. And there was a way you could still get a quarterback. That's going to be the interesting thing with the Patriots and the Commanders. I don't know. Like, it's really like, I don't know what they want to do, because you would think the Patriots are like, we need a quarterback. You don't have Mac Jones anymore. Are you confident in what you have there now? Does a J.J. McCarthy fit better with the Patriots than they do with the Bears? I don't know. That's a very good question.
Yeah.
The Commanders, the Commanders are a shit show. I don't know. I don't see the Bears getting rid of the pick, though.
I mean, they're resetting right now. Like right now, if I'm looking, this is NBC Sports. Everyone's got a bit different mock draft, but the current status here, and I need to, actually, this might be farther down here than I thought. Let's see if he's even in the category. Because I'm looking to see if there's anyone that has J.J. McCarthy going right away first round. Actually, they do. They have him number 5 going to Minnesota. So, and that's kind of what I've been seeing is like, we may have 4 QBs drafted in the top 10 this year. And it's because JJ's stock. Because remember, like post-championship, and call me if I'm wrong, but McCarthy was considered like a second or third round pick, like a day 2 pick. He was nowhere in the realm of being that like high-end top 10 QB choice until the combine happened earlier this month.
Yeah, he was low, and then it kind of risen after the national championship game, just a smidge. But it has been that, and it was before the pro day because he was working out with people, and that's where I saw the report of this guy looks like Joe Burrow, and he would have been in college football if he was in an offense that didn't run it every time. And then you have to think about this too. If that's true about JJ McCarthy, he could have transferred and said, "I'm going to go to an offense that's going to throw it more, and I can show this." He stayed at Michigan, like he's loyal, and he
Yeah.
wants to build the team and be good. So I look at that too, like leadership. Like he could have left. He may not be a guy that necessarily comes in and says, "I want to be traded." He's going to come in and say, "What do we need to do to win? Do I need to throw it 35 times? Do I throw it 10 times? Whatever it takes to win." And I think that's also a part of the reason why he's risen up. If you think about it that way and talk to him and his leadership style, you have Jim Harbaugh talking about it, like a guy that understands the NFL because now he's back, but he understands it. He told people, this guy's going to be taken higher than you think. And then it started to rise up. So, I mean, what's going to hurt him is that, it says he's 6'3". I don't believe that he's 6'3". I thought he was shorter.
It's a pretty tall 6'3", or the camera's lying to you.
Well, he's also 202 pounds.
Yeah,
and so that's the only thing I think that's going to hurt him a little bit. And that's why I think Jane Daniels is above him, is because he's taller and bigger. JJ McCarthy, I think, was better than Jane Daniels, in my opinion.
I think that I was more impressed with McCarthy the previous year on their run to get to the college playoff than I was last year. And I think it's just because, much like you're talking, Michigan has a very specific play style that they've ran with Harbaugh. Run heavy. You do pass, but when you pass, you are going to open it up, and you're going to rely on specialty players and a little bit more of opening up the field. But it's a run first offense. It's always designed around the run. So you just have to have a quarterback that when they need passing, he can get the right moves and the right decisions made. So kind of curious, and like I said, I'm looking at another mock draft, CBS Sports, which I usually look at a lot. They have him going number 5 to New York. Like, he's consistently right now hitting like that 5 to 10 range just after his pro and combine days. So clearly, dude is in the conversation. And I think that I've seen that conversation grow a little more where it's like, what if we just go back a few picks and then get JJ or something? Or like, what if we negotiate back with someone who wants to move up in the draft, like say, and I don't even know which one would be. Actually, it's hard to even say who would be. Maybe like, I don't know. Unless the only thing one I could think of would maybe be like New York, if they wanted to like do the succession plan with Rodgers like Green Bay did, but even that feels risky. So I'm not sure, because like that's the only way I could see it, is maybe they do that, or maybe New York gets a little anxious and just decides to trade with them, and then they take that 5 pick and get security with JJ. But that's harder. That's a harder reach. It's not the favorite betting option right now, like Caleb Beasley is, but like that's a newer one that's been talked about more, is jumping back for that.
Yeah, I look at this is why JJ McCarthy was so low. 22 touchdowns, 5 interceptions last year, 22 touchdowns, 4 interceptions this year. So to them, they're like, these numbers are not bouncing off.
Yeah, pedestrian college numbers for sure.
But to me, then, if you're thinking, let's just compare this for a minute. Justin Fields, was throwing 40 touchdowns, and he had talent around him. JJ McCarthy had talent around him, threw less touchdowns. So they're like, well, wait, what? To me, he played more in a typical pro style offense that you would want in the NFL. He managed the offense. When they wanted him to throw it, he was 72% completion.
When he needed to throw, he was going to complete a pass. Yeah.
Average yards per catch was 9. And 9.8. Last year was 9.1. His rate was 155 last year. Now it's 167, or 2 years ago. And then this year was 167. His yards went up by 200. So to me, if you're going to ask somebody, now that you have the Bears running back room, if they can stay healthy, they have some good running backs. Their O-line proven that they live in running the football. You have two tight ends that can go out there and block and then like slip off of it and catch a pass. You have a number one wide receiver. You have now Keenan Allen that can play outside and inside. So to me, he could be more NFL ready for some teams. And I keep going to the Bears, but wherever he were to go, he seems more ready for that because he was under center a lot. He's not just in shotgun. He was under center. He was doing this. He was doing this. So I think that's another reason why, if they actually sat back and looked, his stock rose for that. You look at Justin Fields, who was in shotgun 98% of the time and doing zone read stuff. J.J. McCarthy proved that he could scatter, not doing the zone read stuff and explode for a 70-yard run, but he could scatter like a Patrick Mahomes and do those things. So that's why it rose a little bit. Now, I know I'm talking him up, but if you think about it in that terms, that's why it came up. And the only reason why Jane Daniels came up is because they're looking at he threw 40 touchdowns and he's 6'4". That's what they're looking at.
Right. Look, the only and keep bringing everybody out because look, Williams is the favorite by far. Again, ESPN bet puts him at negative 5,000 to be the first overall pick. For betting terms, that's like as close to a certainty they believe as you can get in sports betting. That's insane for anything. So they clearly believe, and others that do bet on these numbers believe that too, that he's going to go. And it's the leading theory. But as we know with the Bears, and Ryan Poles has said this since he's come in, we look at all options. We evaluate all options. We put everything on the board. So everything's on the board is how they're looking at it, which given how close, compacted all four of these quarterbacks are now in the draft status that they're given, like again, McCarthy all of a sudden is magically in the number 4 spot to possibly like 3, I don't know if he's in 2, but like he's up there. So you got to start considering like what it is. Then you got to talk with, prospective GMs. How bad do you want it? Or kind of feel out how bad some people want it on things. So like it is a fascinating process. Plus they've got the 9th overall pick. So they're going to have to figure that out. And they don't need to do receiver anymore. Basically MHJ, that talk's dead thanks to Keenan Allen, who we'll talk about in a little bit along with other free agents a little more. But it's they're going to, of course, play coy. They did it last year. They played super coy the entire draft process. Like, oh, I don't know. We may or may not take the pick. And they didn't, of course. But, like, this is the same thing. It's like people are like, you're probably going to take that pick, aren't you? And like, oh, I don't know. We may or may not do it. And something's going to happen. But, it feels like they might just be leaning into that again.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong because I haven't looked too deep into this. And I probably should have. Is it possible for the Bears to take a quarterback and then take Marvin Harrison Jr. at the same time?
But how are you going to get him though? Like that's you'd have to jump down because I don't see him leaving. I mean, Arizona seems like the most obvious one that people think he's going to go to. So I don't know. Like, do you think that they could get him before Arizona or after Arizona? Do you think Arizona's not going to get him or? Because that's where I think it's a little gray. Is I don't think he slips down past top 5.
Oh, well, and you know what? I'm okay if they don't get him because you can get Neighbors from LSU who is good.
Romo Duze is the one that I want. That kid, I want that kid from Washington bad.
So if you think about it, the Bears offense, whatever quarterback you get, then you want to add another wide receiver, and that wide receiver room is DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and then let's say it's Oduzzi from Washington. That would be a good combination with Cole Kmet, who has proven that he can be a receiving tight end. Then you have Swift in the backfield. Then you're going to have some weapons here to play around with.
I'll even throw in Gerald Everett because I'll be frank, that is one thing I'll give Bears fans some credit on. They really haven't had to me, as respectable of a caliber tight end at the second tight end spot for receiving as they have in this coming year. Robert Tonyan was supposed to be that. Yes, you can do doubles. Everett is a guy that has decent hands. You can do doubles with this. So
finally,
and Shane Waldron, that's probably why they picked him up because he, is a Seattle. He was with Seattle recently. So, under that system. So not a bad pickup. And I think, like I said, probably the best one you're going to get in recent years. Tunyon was supposed to be that, clearly didn't work out. And now with a new philosophy on offense, Everett to me is the better intangible receiving option to where you could add him as that pick. And he's still a big body. He still can block. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, and then it's kind of, well, do they even so then the next question is, which I kind of already know, do they want to take a receiver because they just got Keenan Allen? Now they got to work around, like, do they want to extend his deal and all this stuff? They could go after an offensive lineman, and I'm a big fan of Joe Holt from Notre Dame. Like 6'7", 322 pounds. And a guy that was in a running type, so they could go that route too. They could say, hey, we're going to take a quarterback. They have to take a quarterback. There's no question.
They have to.
Quarterback.
They have to.
Regardless of who it is. And I hope they shock the world and take J.J. McCarthy. I just hope they shock the world and say, you know what, Caleb Williams, there's too many red flags. I want J.J. McCarthy. I want to see the city burn. And I want to see Adam Rank burn.
You want to watch it all go down?
I want to see I want to see Adam Rank freak out, and I'm going to screenshot that thing that says Caleb Williams is my quarterback. Then as soon as they draft J.J. McCarthy, he's going to say J.J. McCarthy's my quarterback. I want to see Adam Hogue freak out. I want to see Karn freak out. And then I want to see the positivity from Braggs Jr. pop up so I can be brought back down to reality. I want that to happen. But you get rid of an offensive lineman. I think you add Joel Holt to that, who's a big body and he's tall, and you put him at tackle. And I think that can help out a lot. So I could see quarterback, offensive line, but it's also hard. That's really hard to justify if you've got these good receivers on the table.
It could be.
Is what I think.
I just, it's hard to say. I think also, like, it depends what's the best need available. I think I've seen Jared Verse come up as well. Florida as being an option. Somebody that they've said for edge rushing, because the Bears do need, to me, and they really need to get someone across from Sweat that can be a more consistent threat and a longer-term solution. Because, look, Yannick Ngakoue, he does have his moments, but clearly the dude has made a career of being, I'm going to maximize my short-term deals to get what I want for my money. That is what he's done ever since he left Jacksonville. So, and he did it again this year. So, I mean, you need a long-term solution there that's going to cause damage. That's one of the pieces they need. I would say another one would be guard, possibly. Center, it feels like they locked up with recent moves, especially with the Bates move that they did for the trade from Buffalo. So I feel like that's locked up with him, unless they see someone of more value in like the later rounds of the draft, day 2. But right now, guard, edge rush, I mean, it's not really too much more. I mean, that's where Rome comes in, where it's maybe you get him early if you don't feel like you want your ideal edge rush guy. You get Rome first if he's available, Turner. And then get him I mean,
Dallas Turner from Alabama is a beast.
Yeah, you do that too. You want to
talk about NFL ready play for Nick Saban? Perfect.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways it could go after that first pick for that number 9 pick for the Bears. Like, there's a lot of different avenues you could go.
Trade back as well with the 9 pick too, if you feel like you want to. But depends. Is the best available at that point?
Yeah, and because another thing coming into the season this year was there were still holes to fill, and coming into this year they're talking about the rebuild being done. It's not done. Now you also have to look at our secondary. They have to look at that. Like, there are still some holes to fill. But
you know what? That's one that I would say is personally, I still feel like we need another solid corner across from Johnson. Because I don't buy in entirely. I know they picked up Owens. We're going to be the new celebrity team now that Candace Owens is on our side and all that crap. But, I mean, that's probably the only other weakness. I mean, Gordon's Gordon. He has his moments. He doesn't have his moments. It is what it is. Jaquan Brisker is, I mean, I'm talking safety here, of course, but Brisker's a power hitter, but, You're bound to see him go. It seems anymore. You're bound to see him go out for at least a part of a game every other game.
Right.
And beyond Johnson, it's kind of a drop off. There's not really a number two, you know, and it's almost like being a luxury type of thing because getting Jalen back, it's good they did, you know, and from the guaranteed money, it sounds like they got it out of the way early, so I'm okay with that based on the deal. But they still need that number two because clearly, as much as Bears fans want to hype up that secondary, look, they got picked on outside of Johnson all year. And it was anyone that had a decent brain as a quarterback that could find receivers knew just throw it away from Jalen and everything's going to be fine. And that is what happened last year. So,
see, it's happening.
That's another need.
It's happening. I don't know who this guy is. It said Justin Fields is going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. The Bears franchise is a joke. He's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. Shut the fuck up.
I've seen a few people like that already where they're like, he's going to go on and be HOF.
Mr. Nico. It's time to tweet at him.
Oh, boy.
Shut up.
Get the experience in real time. This is something, people. You're in for a treat. He gets to put in that.
Is Bears Twitter going to be worse now, or than what it was?
I hope not. I think, and for Greg, if he's listening, I hope for his sake it's not. He doesn't need it. That dude does not need that. Too good of a guy. But
Greg, you're the best Chicago Bears report content guy that there
Chicago Bears content guy out there, my guy. I think it gets only worse if the first year is like a complete off the rails nightmare. Like, how do I frame this? How about like say like a Josh Rosen type of year
for who?
You know? Well, like if Caleb comes in or someone like that from Chicago.
Yeah, look,
like if the first year, yeah. If you have like a person, if you have a guy come in and it's like a Josh Rosen year where it's like complete dud, you know, doesn't really show anything. You have no good confidence about the man behind center. That's when I think the pitchforks come out and it somehow gets worse. I think someone put it that, you know, we quote draw swords in each other. Well, you know, at that point it would be drawing swords against each other, but like we would be dousing them in gasoline and probably looking for the first anything to strike at is what would happen. Doesn't matter what side you're on, it just would be that way. I just know it. It's how Bears social media operates right now.
Don't worry, I just tweeted at Braggs for us. I got you.
Good. You did good, man. But I hope the Sandy's at a decent level. That's all I can say. I know some people, I am going, much like we always do, for whoever's the rookie QB, I give slack. We give slack. But keep in mind, and as we've put it, kind of feels like you're building up to a team that needs to make the wild card, that has the pieces this year that I am almost like certain this year looking at it like, all right, how the hell, if we don't make a wild card, I got questions, you know? That's how I feel this year.
When Keenan Allen got to the team, I knew if we were ever to hop on, which it wasn't urgent to hop on because it was a good pickup. The biggest thing, like we already said, we've said this a million times, when they got him and Swift, the no excuse thing was really gonna, like I said that last year, there was no excuses last year, and the excuses came left and right and up and down and whatever. This year for sure there are no excuses, and that goes for Eberflus and that goes for Justin Fields. If you cannot win games with your new offensive coordinator or with the weapons you have, there was going to be no more excuses. Eberflus, you took over the defense. That saved your job. It looks like he's going to call it again. There would be no excuses as to why we can't stand there and compete for a wild card. I think the Lions have the NFC North locked up if they can't play the way they did. The Green Bay Packers, even though it hurts our soul, prove that they were a good team and they are on poised to do that again. Minnesota Vikings are kind of taking a step back with everything
Yeah.
that's going on there. And so the Bears, you're standing there going, if you look at the whole landscape of the NFC, like if you're not competing for a wild card spot, it's going to be bad, And so, but I'm still going to, and that's what sucks about a rookie quarterback. We were going to say no excuses for Justin Fields, who's been here a while. We almost have to say the same thing now for a rookie quarterback is no excuses. Like we have these weapons. But is that going to be on Eberflus again now? Is Eberflus going to get a pass for some of it if the rookie quarterback, because it's a rookie, not doing well? That's going to be the next question.
This is the thing with coaches. Year 3, you have to perform. There are not, for every, how do I put this? The rarity of a Pittsburgh or Cincinnati where patience is a virtue, it is astronomically rare. Like, you don't get a Marvin Lewis situation or how Pittsburgh does their coaches where they just stick with decent guys like that forever in the normal NFL. 3 years, and that's the thing, you see a little bit of progress. That's fine, and now Poles and company have been, okay, you know what? Matt didn't draft his QB, or we didn't get the QB in Matt's run. So we're getting a new guy, but everything else he's helped build, he's had a little bit of a hand in the pie in a way, especially the defensive side, which has gotten better year over year. It was a really solid defense by the end of the year. It just got picked on a certain part of the secondary, but like overall it got better, time to bring the results. It's year 3. That's what it is. I think any head coach that doesn't fall off the tracks or is a PR disaster in the media or isn't overpaid to where the offices have to keep him to justify the cost and utilize cost, you get 3 seasons. It's just like quarterbacks. You get 3 years. 3 years, I'm going to know what the hell's happening here, okay? I kind of figure out what's going on. So I really wanted him fired last year because I thought I figured it out, but you know what? He gave us a curveball and started winning games because the defense improved. So you know what? I back off a little. But I see, like I said, I see those completely botched games. I see a team that could have actually been 10-7 if you don't blow 3 leads that were double digits. I'm not blind. Yep. I might have bad eyesight, but I ain't blind, man. I see that. So it has to be this year. If I keep seeing crap like that, where it's like coaching decisions get bumbled for some reason on a regular basis in the second half again, or you just see some awkward timeouts and all this crap, it's things we saw with Matt Nagy and John Fox kind of mixed in between a little bit. It's a little bit of like a mixture in a way. If I see stuff like that come up, it's time. It's time. It hasn't been a Mark Trestman train wreck. But
no,
another bad year, and we're back into the. No, I mean we haven't had that. I thought it felt like we were possibly going that direction the first half of the year. Not gonna lie, I was ready to say that at some point. But they recovered it, so I'll give it that. But look, it'll be just like John Fox, just like Matt Nagy. 3 years in, sorry pal, gotta go buy a train ticket or a plane ticket. You gotta go fly back to where you came from, buddy, or go get a defensive coordinator position and be like a Chuck Pagano, you'll have a successful career. You're already a good D coordinator. We know this. You'll get in that spot right away. Just, you got to perform if you want to stay a head coach, pal. That's all I'm going to tell you.
It's kind of like Justin Fields. We don't go after him as a person. Matt Eberflus seems like a great guy. When you see the locker room, the reports of the locker room he lost.
Oh, yeah, they love they love him in the locker room. Players love him. But the performance has to be there.
Right. So we're not questioning his defensive mindedness. We're not questioning him as a person. It's just you now have to learn from your mistakes as we do. Like I'm a high school coach. I always sit back and look at last year and say, how can I improve? How can I change? How can I do this? And I'm not a head coach. He has to learn from that. If he comes in and learns from it and maybe the new look, he's got the flow with the hair. He's got the beard thing going on. Maybe it's a new Eberflus. Maybe the Bears are poised to do something great that we're not ready for. Who knows?
I mean, beard Eberflus. It's an energy. Everyone likes it. It seems.
It's like Lovie Smith. He got the beard, and then he became that. So it's maybe that's what's going to happen. And again, if it again year 3 it doesn't happen, he'll find a job within 3 days. 3 days he'll be a defensive coordinator and do well. We saw it in Indianapolis. Like did great, and done great everywhere he's been. From a DC perspective, not a head coach perspective, but a DC perspective, has done good. It's done good.
Oh boy. Tell you what, any other things you're thinking before maybe we dip off? I will say, I actually like the Kevin Beard pickup, by the way, or Byard pickup. Basically replaces Eddie Jackson. To me, similar production for a much better value. So,
yes.
Beyond Keenan Allen, that to me has been like one of the best value, like best pickups Ryan Poles has made this offseason. Because it basically, you basically replace the production Jackson has, but with a guy that is a much better cap guy and possibly is at the same, if not better production than Jackson anyway. Like, you know what?
And we still have money to play with. Like we still have a lot of money to play with too. So if they want to extend Keenan Allen, we got money to play with. Again, I hate to see Darnell Mooney go because I actually was sitting there thinking if we can get it done to have DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet, Keenan Allen, like, oh my goodness, like you're looking at a horrific high-powered offense. But, Mooney will do good things at Atlanta. He has a weapon for Kirk Cousins. So, I mean, that was the one thing I hated to see, but I understand it's a business. That's what DJ Moore said about the Just Field trade. He goes, business is business. And it's a business. And I don't care what people say. Fields did not have a high win percentage. You could blame whoever you want. I do not care. 40 touchdowns, 30 interceptions does not get it done. You won like 10 games. Like it's the reality. You have to look at that. It's reality of the situation. Mooney couldn't stay healthy. I think that's another thing that kind of made him back off a little bit.
That Mooney, man, that one kills me because of the fact that we had a 1,000-yard receiver that between injuries and essentially just lost targets last year. That's the thing. Justin Fields basically decided to lean into DJ Moore. Credit DJ's incredible, but really DJ kind of just took over, one receiver you can trust right away. And that was mainly it, and Mooney just kind of fell out of favor. Not to mention you get a few of those moments like the Hail Mary in Cleveland. Credit, Bears should have never been in that position anyway to be in a Hail Mary, but he didn't come down with it, and that's something that people pin him on for, oh, look at him. He's not executing plays,
Right.
I don't hold that against him because it's still a hard thing. Bears should have never been in that spot anyhow, but
that was story of the season. The story of the season. There was a lot of situations they shouldn't have been in. They showed flashes of how to be able to score points. They showed flashes of the defense. I mean, think about it. The O-line would get better as the season would go on. They become a top 10. The defense became better as it went along, became a top 10 if you look at statistics. The offense showed flashes of being able to do things. Like I said, I was there New Year's Eve against the Atlanta Falcons. They did almost whatever they wanted, Then there's times where they get shut down. And that's what led to this. It led to, hey, look, the defense got better. So if we can continue to add a couple pieces, they will get better. The offense, they added some pieces. Now they just need to show that they can consistently, majority of the time, move the football and put themselves in scoring positions. And, we have a good field goal kicker. And so it just things have to come together now. Like it's showing that. I'm not saying Super Bowl. I'm not saying any of that. Never will say that. But
just
we have to be put into
berth, man.
You have to compete in the NFC North. You have to be put into a position there, and you have to be put into a position where you're not the last team they're talking about in the wild card like last year when I was in shock, but they have to be put in that position.
You know what? I'll start small with something that, Lovie Smith promised years ago that has consistently been the bane of our existence. And, I feel like we can finally start justifying the trash talk for it online because I always hate doing it like this. I see a lot of people trash talk, the cheeseheads a lot for basically nothing that we've deserved in recent years. And I'll tell you what, main objective, this is the first thing you get done. You always talk about you start with small goals, you build up to something. Here's the first goal. Here's the first goal. Steve, how about beat Green Bay? Does that seem reasonable to you? Beat
That's
Green
very
Bay?
reasonable.
Because I feel like that's the main first goal. How about we beat our biggest rival and our biggest freaking bully on the block first? You know, we all had a good laugh. We split with Detroit last year. Cool. We had one good game against Detroit. But you know what we did? We lost to Jordan Love in 2 games. We started out that season against Jordan Love, and that wasn't even the best version of him, and they canned us. We went to Green Bay. We played them for 4 quarters. They made more mistakes than us, and we lost by a touchdown. How about we beat Green Bay? That's the first goal. It's always been the first goal since I've lived to be a Bears fan, and I have never consistently seen that executed except for maybe 2018 and 2006. Both years that are the best years I've been as a fan. And then they split in 2010. The year that Jay Cutler got knocked out in the NFC Championship game against Green Bay, of all things. I'm just saying, how about we beat Green Bay? I feel like that's the first objective. Get that over with.
Yeah, I think so. Here we are. Our first objective is we have to beat Green Bay. I don't care if it's by a safety. just by
beat
a point.
Green Bay. That's all I want. First thing, get that out of the way. That's the only thing I want right now. First,
I think you have to beat Green Bay. You have to be competitive in the NFC North, and you have to be in talks of, look, if they get this done, they could be in a wild card spot because they did expand the playoffs a couple years ago. You are in that position now. That's the order, right? And then just if you do make that playoff wild card, just be competitive in that. Not necessarily saying you have to win, but you have to show that you're competitive. And we have to see that growth over the season. And what sucks is it's probably going to be a rookie quarterback, and that sucks to put it on a rookie quarterback. But I will say this, Caleb Williams has played in some big games. J.J. McCarthy's played in a lot of big games. So hopefully whatever you decide to do, they've been in those positions before. You've got the weapons around him. You actually have a guy that's been an offensive coordinator and helped develop quarterbacks over his time. And hopefully they can just split it where Eberflus is like, do whatever you want on offense because I trust you. You've been there and done that. They have a couple different coaches. And then I'm going to take care of the defensive side. I'm going to do what I want. Kind of like the 85 Bears. Like, you do your thing. I'm going to do my thing. And hopefully that kind of transforms into that.
And that's how it should be with a defensive coach. Just completely F off and let the coordinator do his thing. You know, there's not much value. I don't see much value you're going to add. Let him run the staff as he should see fit. You know, just like an offensive coach, get a defensive coordinator that's good and knows his stuff. F off and let him do his job. You know, that's the thing. You know, if you need to talk situations in the game, great. But like training wise, getting these guys to play, they're 2 separate teams, people. You got to let them get their stuff together and do it that way. But yeah, I mean, look, just beat Green Bay. That's the first thing. I am tired of going online and having people try to prod Green Bay fans and me going, you're prodding them for what? That we've lost 10 straight games, that during my lifetime we've lost the overall win marks against our biggest rival. Like, what do we have? You know, I know it's a rivalry, but like, we haven't really participated very much in my 29 years of existence on this planet. We really haven't. So, like, what rivalry is it? It's not much of a rivalry. It's on paper. It's the historical. But like in the last 2+ decades, honestly, since the freaking early 90s, it's not been a rivalry much. It's been Green Bay. Only freaking Green Bay.
We've had flashes. There's been flashes. But when you look at consistency, and how do the Green Bay Packers keep doing it? Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers,
I don't know
Jordan Love all of a sudden.
I mean, just, I don't know. Insert Jesse Pinkman yelling he can't keep getting away with this, because that's what this is. Like Jordan Love last year throwing for 30 touchdowns. Like people being like, it's a system. Like, guys, he's here. Matt LaFleur, if Matt LaFleur is staying, he's going to keep looking good. He is here. They have found another good quarterback. How the hell does this keep happening? This one, at least, is because they let him sit down for a few years, I think. But like, how? Just beat Green Bay. Just beat the Packers. That is the first objective. That is the first thing. Do not overlook this objective. You do it every year. Once you don't do that, everything else can be looked at into the future. Beat Green Bay.
I'm on board.
Beat Green Bay.
I'm
Please beat
really
Green Bay.
on board. I'm on board.
Oh my God.
I think we covered it all. I think we covered it
Yeah.
all.
I mean, I don't know. Any thoughts on the stadium announcement now that they're going to go to downtown? You're more the Illinois guy than ever before. I mean, you know my stance. I've wanted them to play downtown, but like I accepted the Arlington Heights. But now Illinois tax has gotten in the way, it sounds like. So now Chicago's back on the menu.
I'm more shocked about the possibility of tearing down Soldier Field, or like the fact that they're going to kind of let the Bears do what they want.
I read the Fox Sports report that they're going to, if this gets built, Soldier Field is no more. Like it becomes a recreational area connected with the stadium. That's right. Crazy.
Now that could have just been a Lori Lightfoot situation before, because she was big on whatever. They have a new mayor who is not good either for the city of Chicago. But if they're going to change it around, and that's the big shock, is that the city of Chicago has this big stance of Soldier Field is ours and blah, 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 blah. But I also think maybe the city of Chicago is like, wait a minute. You're telling me we could maybe get more money if we actually do this and we let the Bears kind of do what they want, and then we can bring revenue in? Like, hold on a second.
It is convenient how once the elections went over that now it seems like the city's back in favor with the Bears. You know, it's almost like that relationship got restored because it's a reset in a way, you know.
Well, and also
even though if we're talking politics, yeah.
Well, I think because also they saw how serious the Bears were. It was almost like the city was trying to call their bluff, like, oh, you ain't leaving. You're the Chicago Bears. You go to Arlington, you know, whatever. And I think the more it was going on, they're like, oh, wait a minute, you're serious. Like, you are dead serious. And then when they came out, another city where I live in Naperville, that was a huge consideration because there is a lot way over there that they could use.
Well, Naperville was like, Naperville was being like, please take everything, which is like an ideal NFL stadium like relationship, is a city that basically says, you know what, F it, just take whatever you want. We'll make it work. But, you know, I'll be frank, like I personally think that with like the city coming back to the table and being more like, almost like, hey, we're sorry, coupled with the tax thing, coupled with, and this was part of that whole discussion, we're talking like 70% of people in the city, it seems, if we're going on a straw poll that was taking place, we're talking 7 out of 10 people want the Bears to be in downtown. And keep in mind, like, out of all the teams in the NFL that are in big top 5 markets, there's not many that exist in city limits in a said market like that. Chicago being in Chicago to a lot of people is part of the reason they like it, is because it's right there, you know?
Right.
Even though it is,
for me, it'd be easier for me to get to Arlington Heights. Like, I hate going into the city.
I know.
To a Bears game. So when you look at it from that point of view of like, I love the idea of Arlington Heights or a suburb, and they get a specific train that goes from the city into the stadium, kind of like the New England Patriots. I love that idea. But I also am okay if they stay in the city because it is history. It's the Chicago Bears. They're in the city. So either way, I was going to be fine. But when you look at it from like talking to people in the suburbs, they're like, oh, I could easily get to Arlington Heights way more than I can get into the city.
Yes.
So I'm okay with either one. I think I was just more shocked that they were how quickly it flipped and saying, do whatever you need to do, and we'll try to work with you and figure out what we're going to do with Soldier Field. And,
the
you know,
Bears,
maybe what we need to do.
What's interesting too, because the other part of this that caught me off guard, and credit, you know how teams work. They only put up so much money. It says Chicago's putting up $2 billion. Like the team is putting up $2 billion towards this project. Like the team itself, keep that in mind. Like stadiums cost like billions now these days, and they're putting up 2 with a B. Another for context is the Chiefs, who are only putting up for, I think it's like they're trying to get like $800 million in renovation costs right now over a GEHA field, and they're only putting up $300 million, and the Hunt family is worth $25 billion, and they're only putting up 300, and they want the county out there to put up roughly shoot, man, it's definitely 60% plus of the money to fund that, or they're gonna supposedly move. I don't think they will, but like, that's the thing. Chicago, $2 billion, which will put a lot towards a stadium, by the way, versus cheaply trying to do reno. Like, I actually got to give claps for the fact that that's how much money they're putting towards an actual new a venue. That's kind of crazy.
Right. Well, the Bears can do it. They're like, we make money every year when we stink, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, they're also, I mean, yeah, when you're top 10 in ticket prices every year, you're kind of, those margins kind of feel pretty good. Historic franchise, first franchise to ever be in the NFL. I mean, you know, it's the stuff that buys a lot.
And they're also thinking of the money they can make back if they could go down the route of, we can own hotels, we can, well, let's get a casino, let's get something, and maybe we can make that money. Especially if you're putting gambling stuff, that money's going to come back in an instant.
Championships, that's now open to.
And championships.
The city especially will be happy for those. Not to mention, you know, and I thought, like, the more I thought about this as we went on with these talks, you know, Big Ten's offices are in Chicago, and Chicago, in terms of city officials, are probably happy that the conference based in its city is going to be playing its championship most likely at some point in its own city. On the flip side, given, if, as you know, where I used to live, I guarantee you Indianapolis will lose that Big Ten championship within 5 years or whatever that deal ends. Because as much as Indianapolis is a great championship city, dude, they're going to go to Chicago if it has a dome. It's a bigger, it's the third largest city in the country. It's in their headquarters city alone. That's going to be a big loss for Indianapolis in a few years. Not even going to lie. I know it right now. The people that I used to talk with, they will be disappointed, is all I can say. They
will, but I guarantee you they'll find a way to get somebody else there. So, but like, it will be a fight, but you're right. But then Chicago can now stand there and say, we can host a Super Bowl now and bring that to the city. We can host the Big Ten championship. Oh, the Big Ten versus ACC. We could try to host it. You know,
Final
in
Four,
Chicago,
you can host those now too.
Final Four. You could even possibly throw your name in, which I doubt it happens. You could dabble in college football world, and say you could host something there if you expand these playoffs and you want to put a bid in, which never happens. Hey, they could even dabble into the spring football world and say, hey, we could host things here.
You know what I would love to see at this new venue, even though I know they kind of can do this already and been doing somewhat of this stuff at Wrigley. I'd put a frickin' Big Ten Illinois Northwestern game in the stadium as soon as possible.
That would happen too.
Like,
I guarantee
battle for Illinois, like the battle for Illinois, you know, battle for the heart of America or some crap, name it like that, and throw it in there for a specialty game early in the year.
They could even sell
gangbusters.
And I'm very positive about this. You could host Division I AA playoff game, like a national championship there too.
You could do that too
if you really want. Yeah. If you want to expose Chicago, because they go play in Texas because it's warm and everything else. So I don't know if they will lose that, but they could say, hey, certain round play, like the championship for the FCS level, you know, I don't know how you make that work but I mean, yeah, that's.
There are only two questions I have on this whole deal. One of them you've already brought up is the transportation, which they claim that they are trying to work out ways to put new transportation avenues of getting there. We'll see how that pans out, but that supposedly is going to be part of this whole new deal is with the design. They're going to try and add in better ways of getting to the stadium. So there's that. B, what's the tailgating going to look like? Because if you read in, they're basically going to build it on the south lot tailgate section. So where do you build out from there?
That's where they're going to have to buy more land. They're going to have to
tear down the McCormick garage. I mean, that's been a hypothetical for years now, you know.
I think he'll be okay. I think Kevin Warren, I don't think was a very good Big Ten commissioner, but if he's put in charge of just these type of things, over personnel and dealing with that stuff. This is what his job is, and he proved it at the Vikings.
Mhm.
I hate to give Cam Warren any type of props because I hated him as a Big Ten commissioner. If that's all he's able to do and figure it out, they'll figure it out. There's a lot of land there to play with. If they actually tear down Soldier Field, if they want to get rid of Soldier Field altogether and add more room that way, and like there's plenty of room there. They're going to have to mess with the streets. It's going to be chaotic down there when they start to do all this. That's going to be
Oh my!
blocked off.
I didn't even think about that. Geez, Lakeshore Drive's gonna be a mess. It probably gonna be a
it's
mess
all
over
going to
there.
be. So
All the museum crap, you're gonna have to block off certain access roads for those, since it's in that area, especially if you're tearing down Soldier Field.
There'll be plenty of room for tailgating. They'll be fine.
Yeah,
but they'll have to tear that down. But they'll make a bigger parking lot. They're looking at other stadiums and how they have it. They're going to figure that out because,
all I know is I need to make my pilgrimage to Soldier Field sooner rather than later. Then, because I don't know, it's its own thing. It's one more shot. Having the outdoor snowy event, because that won't be Bears football any soon. So,
nope.
Yeah. I have a lot of good childhood memories at Soldier Field, even though the Bears have been rough throughout my childhood. One more time. That's what I need. And my dad, I think especially would too. I know he has told me personally he would swear off going back to Chicago for a game, but I know he has too many good memories of those days to where I think if I asked him, there's no way he would not say that. There's no way he would say no to that before they tear that down. At least one more time.
Right.
I think it's a lot of people that are Bears fans personally.
It's going to happen in a couple of years. You got time. This isn't going to happen.
Right. I mean,
right
sure. Look, time moves really quick is all I'm telling you. At some point, I got to get out for one more game. That's it.
Right.
Just one.
Right.
Just one.
Well, I think we covered it all. So
I think we did.
We'll see who
I
think we'll see who the Bears take. We'll see what happens in the draft. That'll be an interesting time. And be on the lookout for me going in Twitter fights with people. It's going to be fun.
You got to put your boxing gloves on. Like your new profile picture should be just, I don't know, like the old, like put up your Dukes kind of thing, like 1920s bruiser or something like that.
I'm going to try to screenshot this right here. I'm going to find it.
Yeah. Yes. There you go. It's got to have some Bears look. So there you go. You do it like that. Maybe, you already, I don't know. It looks good. Just do that. Just make your profile picture that. Put up your Dukes, something like that. I don't know.
I'll fight item rank. I'll fight item rank.
You just got to get Adam to look at you. That's what I want to see next is Adam replies, and then it gets fun, Just keep chipping away. He'll say something. Just tell him. Just have one of us tell him he doesn't know what a catch is.
Oh, good call.
Just post an Njoku clip and say, "Sorry, didn't you say this wasn't a catch? Are you valid? Are you valid in your points?"
That's a good call.
Be like, that was last year. Be like, yeah, well, it was still wrong then, and it's still wrong now, and I don't trust you right now.
I just replied to his Caleb Williams thing again. I said, "What's a catch?"
Oh my God. I'm not letting that one go.
All right, well, like and subscribe. Check out the Bear Down segment of the Coach Steve Show. All that good stuff. Subscribe to Zach's stuff too. It'll be in the description, of course. Thanks everybody for watching or listening. We'll see you guys for more Bears updates, probably the draft, but we'll be there.